Hi, my name is Paris and I'll be discussing the educational issue of bullying within Australian schools. The Department of Education encourages a safe and engaging environment for the community by providing policies to create awareness for individuals. The Department of Education defines bullying when there is a misuse of power in a relationship, actions and behaviours are repeated or cause harm. In order to decrease the risk, the Department of Education has implemented an anti-bullying plan that is required in all New South Wales public schools to help teachers and students recognise behaviours that symbolise bullying. However, the policy causes educational issues on citizenship as the policy focuses more on the behaviours of the bully than the victim. Point 4.1.5 in the anti-bullying policy indicates the roles and responsibilities of teachers to manage reports of bullying and escalate matters to the principal when necessary. By doing so, this impacts the children's citizenship as the policy is focusing on the aftermath of the issue rather than stopping it prior. Therefore, students may feel there is a bias on values and a lack of justice towards them. The Department of Education embodies bully exposure into PDHP KLAs to improve awareness. However, this is not enough. Students value relationships with their peers in different ways, both socially and individually. Therefore, some students may struggle with expressing their feelings or understanding signs of bullying within the bullying intervention programs provided in the PDHP KLA. This approach, though it may be beneficial for students to be aware of whether they are being bullied or how to respond to bullying, doesn't mean teachers understand how to communicate to students about bullying. This may lead to difficulty with understanding how to engage in bullying. Therefore, as I would state, some students may be unable to conceptualize abstract ideas of what it means to be a good citizen. Australian school policies implement bullying resources into the KLA PDHPE lessons as listed on the 1.3.2 of the anti-bullying policy to encourage the prevention of bullying behaviours learned in PDHPE lessons. This aligns with Jadamba and fellow researchers' approach of the National Safe Schools Framework as it aimed at raising awareness of the importance of individual physical and emotional safety in schools. On page 401 of the results of Australian schools, using this approach, 90% of schools reported having a bullying policy, with 25% not understanding its contents. The Dunbar and researchers also suggest that it has limited resources to engage with the whole school community in policy development. This suggests there is a lack of collaborative development of compliance to policies due to the lack of resources that need to be distributed. Although Australia's intervention plan focuses on raising awareness of bullying by making awareness compulsory through lessons, Norway has implemented a bullying policy and program called the Ellis Bullying Prevention Program. Researchers have stated this program works with intervention at 3 different levels of implementation: school-wide, classroom level, and individually. The use of the intervention plan among students in grades 5 to 7 was documented in a self-test bullying report before and after exposure to the intervention plan. Goodman mentions the test suggested a high statistically significant reduction in self-reported bullying and victim behaviours, and a clear reduction in antisocial behaviours that improved the social climate of the class. Bullying impacts individuals in a social, physical, and emotional way that influences behaviours that disrupt citizenship amongst peers due to differences in values and beliefs that challenge perspectives. Non-malfeasance, benefits, and justice are present when faced with bullying. Non-malfeasance is evident through the perspective of the teacher who evokes a safe environment within the school to avoid harm. Beneficence is also considered as the way values are interpreted and adopted by another and correlates with how individuals are treated. As expressed through the anti-bullying policy, bullying can be recognized with repeated behaviors. These behaviors may stem from beliefs and opinions and disagreements. It is a teacher's responsibility to promote equality among individuals through communication, which may influence students' perception of bullying. A teacher's role and responsibility to empower students with knowledge through individual value. As Boone mentions, quality teachers are considered to be those individuals whose pedagogy is grounded in values and beliefs that lead to caring, positive teacher-student relationships embedded in trust and high standards of professional ethics. In line with the current anti-bullying policy, teachers are expected to acknowledge bullying through expected KLAs. However, the needs of citizenship cannot be met unless teachers are exposed to the values of students before communicating to students. The current Department of Education avoids speaking of the long and short-term outcomes of bullying. Bullying policies focus on highlighting positive behaviours to limit the risk of bullying, but fail to mention the detection of negative behaviours that may lead to short and long-term behaviours. In such states, behaviours that may evident include injury, humiliation, sadness, rejection, and helplessness. Further bullying can lead to an emotional strain on the students through behaviors such as low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, behavior, conduct problems, psychosomatic problems, psychotic symptoms, and physical illness. As a result, if bullying is not detected by a peer, a student's well-being can be strained, therefore impacting their safety and will lead to disengagement from the school community. Within scenarios and interactions within the school environment, parents rely on sufficient communication with their child to understand the behaviors and events that may have happened in school. However, if a child is faced with short and long-term behaviors of bullying, it is the teacher's role to communicate this to the parent. Within anti-bullying policies, it is a teacher's role to communicate with parents information about warning signs of engaging in or being a victim of bullying and the appropriate action to take if their child is involved in bullying. However, with the current anti-bullying policy, these needs may not be met as Demanda mentioned prior resources may be misunderstood, therefore may cause a strain amongst stakeholders' communication. With further research, I would like to take on board the OS approach of understanding bullying through exposure in a three-step rule at a whole school level, classroom level, and individually. Goodman further mentions that to understand bullying, researcher Olmes recommends that teachers participate in social development programs where problems concerning bullying and victimization are explored and discussed. Further, I would like to change within the current Department of Education anti-bullying policy to make programs that specify training with bullying awareness through teacher portals that are mandatory for teaching and non-teaching staff and that need to be renewed yearly. This idea is used to create awareness for teaching staff to indicate how to detect behaviors from students and create awareness of how to approach situations of bullying. Further, by allowing teachers to do further training, this will build children's citizenship that the department is currently neglecting. By making school staff aware, teachers can verbalize in a confident and understanding manner to students, allowing the student to feel that they have been able to communicate when faced with bullying, giving them a sense of justice that was previously neglected. The idea of adopting Ellis and Goodman's idea of engagement for teachers, as there is a lack of knowledge around bullying, by utilizing these approaches and making compulsory training for school staff may improve teacher awareness of how to communicate and engage with bullying with students, colleagues, and parents. Jadamba researchers and Cochrane Smith speak on this idea, reflecting on the Australian National Safe School Framework, that to gain awareness, pre-service teachers need to work on addressing equity and social justice at the individual level. This is evident within Elwood's review, mentioning researcher Lansdowne suggests Australia needs to change the way adults approach education and address children's right to education alongside their right to be listened to be respected, and to learn through everyday experiences. A way to evoke awareness for teachers is to create a telling culture. By doing so, teachers' learning is implemented in their pedagogical practice by working constructively with groups when detecting bullying behavior. Once children are aware of the telling culture, justice is evoked as there is a fair solution, allowing students to feel confident in reporting incidents. The following references were used through the information and images used within the presentation. Thank you for reading.